So I want to welcome everybody to our East Alabama Works quarterly workforce meeting. We were not here in July. We had several things going on in East Alabama. The week that we would have been having our quarterly workforce meeting, we actually had about 200 of our career tech educators, CTE directors, counselors, career coaches across our workforce region that were going out into business and industry. They spent 3 days for professional development, learning what was needed in our workforce region, and had some great takeaways. One of the really interesting things that I had not realized was most of the time our CTE faculty don't have an opportunity to really engage with each other. They have some conversations with each other, maybe on the phone, maybe on a Zoom like this, but rarely, if ever, have they ever come together in person to talk to each other. And who better to learn from and find out, where did you find that document? Where did you find that resource than your fellow career pathway instructors? So we had an opportunity to, for instance, bring all the welding instructors. They met together. All the cosmetology instructors, they met together. Health science teachers, all the different 16 career pathways were represented, and they all were able to learn from each other, get that relevant professional development that they all need, and then go out into business and industry and hear from business and industry what they needed. They also had an opportunity to work with their community college partners, find out, what's going on in the community colleges that they can also take back and share with their students. So we're very excited to be here today. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen real quick, and we will get started. So welcome. We are thrilled to have you here. This is an absolute beautiful day in East Alabama. It is probably the perfect fall day. It is sunny, 75 degrees. Probably doesn't get much better than that. We have several events going on in East Alabama. We're going to kind of cover those. We've got 2 really exceptional topics today presented by some really first-class guest speakers. We'll be talking about branding the workplace as a key to recruitment success. And then if you have not already heard about it, you're going to be really excited to hear about the East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub that's coming to the Sylacauga-Talladega County area. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask Abby Howell to share a little bit about 2 events coming up in our workforce region. Abby?
Thank you. So as many of you may know, East Alabama Works serves as the hub for East Alabama Best Robotics, which is a simulated workforce development program that allows students to create a robot or product to solve a real world problem. This year, the theme is construction demolition. And so their robot has to perform different functions, such as like cleaning up debris, successfully demolishing a building without having any type of damage or destruction to surrounding areas, and different things like that. Our game week this week is going to be the week of November the 8th through the 12th, and we will actually have a live viewing option. This year, we're still doing a classroom competition due to COVID and many schools still having those field trip restrictions. So we will be sending you guys out a Zoom link to be able to watch the competition, even though it will be virtual this year. So that will be really fun. If you're interested in judging and finding out more about this program, maybe dipping your toes in the water, maybe you don't know a lot about it and would like to see it firsthand, our students will have multiple events going on this week. They will be doing marketing presentations. They will be doing exhibit booths and interviews virtually, where you will have to go in and look at their website and judge it for content and things like that, be able to ask them questions. And then they also will submit an engineering notebook. So if you're interested in getting more involved with BEST, please just shoot me an email after this meeting, or you can do it now. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat box. But we'll have this going on the week of Veterans Day, and I hope you all can log on and watch our students participate because it's really awesome. Another thing that we have ongoing is leadership skills training classes, and we offer these trainings once a month. We have leadership skills 1, 2, and 3. They do not have to be taken in any particular order. So if you have not done any of these and the next one you can get into is leadership skills 2, that's totally fine. You register through our website. We just have a Google form that you fill out and we'll get you in the class. They're free to you. They are virtual. There's some really awesome information in there. We are limited to 20 students for each class. So if you are interested in participating or you have some employees that are interested in participating in these classes, go ahead and jump on there and get registered. And again, those are on our website through our calendar functionality. And if you would like me to send you the direct link to the registration, again, just shoot me an email and I would be happy to do so.
Thanks, Abby. And I have judged Best Robotics. I've judged the marketing presentations. I've judged some of the trade show booths before. And it really is an exceptional opportunity to make a difference for our students and ultimately business and industry. I know there are several industry partners on the phone today or on the call today that seek out those students who have experience in Best Robotics because they know that those students that have participated have that critical thought process that they have mastered because Best Robotics teaches that in a fun and unique way. So as you guys know, I am not probably the most tech savvy person, and even I have a spot that I can support Best Robotics. So please let Abby know if you have an interest. If you want to just learn more, again, she's happy to get you information and maybe see where you can plug in at. So every month we have an AlabamaWorks webinar series. The webinars are on the third Monday of each month at 9 a.m. Traditionally, it is done via Facebook. So you can just, even if you don't have a Facebook account, you can always get access to facebook.com, AlabamaWorks, and be able to view those webinars. There's always great monthly topics. Generally, there's an overarching theme for the meeting. And then probably about 3 to 4 really top-notch speakers who speak to that particular topic or theme. So mark your calendars for the next one, which will be Monday, November 15th, again at 9 a.m. via AlabamaWorks Facebook page. And it couldn't be East Alabama Works without our annual hiring fair. Our East Alabama Regional Hiring Fair is going to be November the 2nd. It'll be 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Oxford Civic Center. The Civic Center in Oxford is pretty much dead in the middle of our 7-county workforce region, which is the reason why we choose to have it at that location. We love to support other hiring fairs, such as the one that was held in Heflin last month, or the one in Etowah County, Sylacauga. We love to support all of those hiring fairs, but this one specifically is going to be for to really serve all of our 7 counties. So we hope that you will join us. Currently, we have about 40 employers already registered. We are working on a proactive hiring plan and job seeker engagement plan. I know that Carl Brady, who is going to be heading up our hiring fair again this year, is traveling on the road. So if you have any questions, if you need to, if you want to sign up as an employer, if you want to find out more information so that you can share it with job seekers that you may know, either through your church or any sort of outreach, please feel free to reach out to Carl. He can be reached at cbrady@eastalabamaworks.com, and we'll get Abby to put that in the chat box. So feel free to reach out to Carl. We would love to have another robust group of employers that our job seekers can reach out to. And certainly it would not be East Alabama Works without our Worlds of Work. I am so excited to share with you that Worlds of Work is going to be coming back to an in-person event for March of 2022. Last year, as you know, we had to host a virtual event. It was good, but there's just nothing that really helps our students like that hands-on career expo and engagement. Seeing those students pick up a hammer for maybe the first time in their whole lives and be able to, hit a nail or use a screwdriver to screw in a screw, drive a backhoe, birth babies. It's really the way to help excite that student. I know adults, we all get very excited when we see those opportunities. So you can only imagine the difference that that in-person event makes for our students. So we will be hosting that event. Again, it's going to be in March of 2022. We will be working with nearly 8,000 students across our 7-county workforce region. We reach out to all 16 of our public school systems, as well as all our private and homeschool students. Traditionally, Worlds of Work is for the 8th grade and high school juniors. We target the 8th grade because students are making those critical career pathway decisions and what they want to do and the courses they want to take for the 9th grade and for their high school years. So that's one reason why we target the 8th grade. We also reach back out and connect with them in the 11th grade. At that point, in the spring of their 11th grade year, they've got a little bit more time where they can make those critical decisions that they need to, but they still have time that they can focus and maybe even find out, hey, I liked engineering when I went to Worlds of Work back in the 8th grade, and then come back to Worlds of Work as an 11th grader and find out maybe it's civil engineering that they love, or mechanical engineering, or chemical engineering. What kind of engineering, is what's their driver? So we actually had a student that did that very thing. It was very exciting to see how they use Worlds of Work to find their future. So we would be engaging with you all. Many of you have been career presenters in the past, volunteers. Probably if I asked for a show of hands, probably 95% of you all would raise your hands as having been involved with Worlds of Work throughout our 5 years. So we are looking forward to that. Nothing can stop us right now. 2 years ago, a pandemic did, but we are full steam ahead. We met our event chairs, Kelly Pierce and Carol Kirk, met this morning and really have some exciting plans. So look for more information, and we are going to bring Worlds of Work back bigger and better than ever. And we'll keep you posted on the progress. So now I wanted to bring forward our guest speakers. We're going to start with branding the workplace is the key to recruitment success, with Bart Thaw and Cale Webb, both with Alabama Media Group. There's probably not a day that goes by that we don't hear how difficult it is to recruit employees. And you all know that every single day, what a challenge it is to get those jobs filled. Our first presenter was part of the recent AlabamaWorks Virtual Workforce Conference. I heard their message, and I knew as soon as I heard them that I needed to reach out to them to present here to our quarterly meeting. I knew it would really benefit our stakeholders, the message that they would have to share. So I want to share a little bit of information. Bart Thaw is the Vice President of Marketing for Alabama Media Group. He's been with the company for 8 years, specializing in brand management, lead generation, and marketing strategy. Alabama Media Group is the largest media company in Alabama, serving the business community and helping them recruit employees, attract customers, and grow their brand. Joining Bart is Cale Webb, and Cale is the Talent Recruitment Director. So I'm going to take off my screen share so that Bart can share his screen.
Excellent.
And Bart, you should be good to go.
Let me get this started.
And
Yeah,
while
we should-
Bart's screen is coming up, and it's, if you can expand it, Bart. to a-
I'm working on it. Let me
Okay.
get this going. There we go.
And during Bart and Kale's presentation, feel free to enter any questions in the chat box. You'll see the chat box at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. And so join us in welcoming Bart Thaw and Kale Webb to East Alabama Works.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. So glad that you called me several weeks ago and that you enjoyed our presentation at the AlabamaWorks statewide conference, virtual conference. I'm glad to see you guys moving forward in March with some live events. I know we're all going to welcome getting back to having those live interactions to augment our very segmented and lonely work days from our home offices. We're coming to you from Birmingham and a couple of different locations. I've worked with Kale about the entire time that I've been here. And to be honest with you, there have been, as you know, for the past 8 years, several sectors of our economy that have been really tight in the hiring market, regardless of what the larger and broader economy has been. And some of those have been localized to different areas. And so we've been working with companies for a very long time about not just how to get more applications in the pipeline, but also about how to basically stand out when you have a very tight labor market, how to stand out and look different from the competition that's out there competing over a dwindling pool of applicants, especially in the healthcare industry and in the trucking industry. We've had some ebbs and flows that have been really tight for years. And so I want to be sharing some things today that we've been utilizing and proving out and optimizing over the past couple of years. Before I do that, I really want to zoom out and just look at, we're sitting at sometimes where we sit, we might be looking at our own backyard and thinking, we're unique, but not really thinking about, well, what's the climate in a larger perspective. As we look statewide, we kind of have a hiring difficulty scale that we monitor. And we're seeing this, usually when we see Alabama as a whole, we see that we're a less difficult to find employees overall. We have 2.1 million people in the workforce. We have 94,000 positions that are being actively posted today. That's amazing. Our typical posting duration would be half of what it is today. This is average posting duration, 60 days. And the estimated salary range across the entire universe of open jobs today is higher than the median income in any one of our metropolitan areas today. Kale, you might look at this and see some unique things that you haven't seen before, especially as we zoom into some of the titles, the skills, and the active employers.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at this, there's some interesting things that pop out. One, historically, truck drivers and the healthcare field have always been hard to fill. That's no secret. It's always been that way. But what we're starting to see in the past year to 2 years is some of those positions that historically haven't had the dire need, like your customer service, your sales representatives, people who are cashiers, your more entry-level type positions are becoming more needed. And we see that it's evident today as you drive down the road. I'm sure in your city, you see now hiring signs on every window of every location, right? So it's really becoming a more dynamic workforce as far as who's hiring. There's so many options now. So that's going to increase the difficulty for you to find not only skilled people, but people who fit where you want them to be and fit the profile of what you're looking for your company.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever before seen under the top active employers, universities next to Walmart and Dollar General next to the consulting giant Deloitte. So it's pretty interesting. Now let's zoom into the area that includes much of the Anniston area, the Birmingham DMA, and we see that hiring difficulty go up from a 5 to a 6 out of the 535,000 possible employees. We have 25,000 open jobs. And that posting duration went up another 3 days. The estimated salary climbed up just a bit on the top end as well. Again, I would have expected in the past, we've always seen nursing. Customer service is the top title. What's going on?
Yeah, definitely. And that just speaks to that, entry of a higher volume of jobs are becoming harder to fill. And I think that's a lot of factors that have happened in the last year, whether that's, people being able to take advantage of extra income with unemployment when they have been without a job. The state did a good thing there and moving away from that. So now we're starting to see a trend of more people coming back into the workforce, but it's a slow trickle. And I know that's affecting everybody, right? It's making it really hard to fill the needs that you have. And this is a true representation of that.
And we go even tighter and looked at what we would call our blue collar workforce, those manufacturing jobs, those technical jobs, those skills-based jobs. Hiring difficulty goes up another notch from median into the full-on difficult range, where we have 22,800 workers, 1,100 open jobs, and still a 2-month average posting duration, but the estimated salary hasn't gone down, has it? That's really interesting, in that our wage pressure is really putting a strain on it. And also the positions that are open are just expanding. Dean Foods, Hubble, Fresenius, Amgen, Hubble Power Systems, the top posters by number of postings out there. So I think the biggest question that we get asked every day is, well, how can I attract the applicants to me if a posting duration's out there for 61 days? There's 1,100 positions, but there are not necessarily 1,100 people that are out there looking for a job. And even if there were 1,100, are all of those 1,100 qualified and somebody that you would want to fill that position with? That's the tough part. Put that against the backdrop of an unemployment rate that continues to go down. July was 3.2, August is 3.1 officially. I don't have the September number, the unofficial September number. I'm sure it'll be solidified. But historically, we're approaching that all-time low that we had coming in at the end of 2019 into early 2020. And it's most likely, hopefully, there's not going to be any kind of economic upheaval that's going to change that. I want to open up a question before we get into talking about how to brand our workplace and how to take passive job seekers and turn them into active job seekers, and talk about retention really quickly. And I want to ask you guys a question. Do you have a retention strategy? And please, speak up if you'd like to share that you do or you don't, or it's something you're working on, because retention right now, it's sort of like, how do you stop the leak? You plug it. It's a lot easier to retain employees than it is to find new ones, onboard them, get them trained, and get them up to speed. So in this tight labor market, do you guys have a retention strategy that you're putting as much focus on as you're putting on your hiring strategy? Would anybody care to share?
If you do want to share, just take yourself off mute.
Well, I'm going to come from the education world, if that's okay, and share one of the things that we're doing with some intensive training that we're providing for our teachers is we are offering a stipend if they complete the training and they return for the next year to work in our system.
Interesting. That's great. Anyone else?
In the chat that say no.
So I'm not surprised by the no or the silences, because this is an area that historically you haven't really had to focus on that much, right, Bart? So as the labor market shrinks, as that unemployment rate continues to go down, this is going to become extremely important. So be thinking about things you can do, and branding your workplace is one of those things that helps with retention. People like to feel pride and be happy in a place that they're involved with, whether that's their church, their sports team, any affiliation they have, right? They take pride in it. So if you're doing things that allow them to share and to boast that, hey, I'm at a really great place, that's going to continue to grow that retention rate for you and help you to keep employees longer.
That's great. And now let's get on into what we're talking about when we mean branding the workplace, and what we're talking about when we say you need to be reaching passive job seekers to turn them into active job seekers. What we saw in the stats are that there simply aren't enough qualified workers in the pipeline that are out on job boards today looking for those open jobs. There's just not. And the only way that we're going to be able to get workers for our businesses is to try to reach people today who either aren't looking for a job or aren't actively looking for a job. And one of the things to realize about the job pipeline, the passive to active pipeline, is that nobody just wakes up one day and goes from I'm not in the job market to flip the switch, I'm now in the job market, unless something catastrophic happens, like they get fired or their company closes or something like that. Most people, it's a gradual process. They're waking up one day, they hear a friend got a job at a cool place. They got a great raise because they left their company and took a chance in somebody else. And it just planted the seed. That might move somebody from I'm not looking for a job at all to maybe I should check something out, to I've heard this new company just started in our area, to oh, I hear they pay $25 an hour instead of $20 an hour. These are the little trickle kind of things that could move somebody from passive to active. So no one is definitely out of the job market, and no one is just necessarily all in unless they are out of a job and actively searching. We have to reach people along this sort of continuum from passive to active and keep pushing them towards that active status to bring more people into the job market. And if what you're doing right now, your solution for recruitment is just placing ads through ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or whatever job board or the local newspaper even, that's just not enough, because there's not enough eyeballs out there that are pulling these people in. There's not enough eyeballs on those job boards to fulfill the need today.
Yeah, and I'll say to that, Bart, most employers, and I would say it's easily 85% or more, are only focused on that active stage. They want the quick hit, let me post a job because I need these applications. The key to hiring those quality employees are going to be bringing your passive audience, which is the larger volume of people in the state, right? We know there's more people not looking for a job than there are that are looking for a job. Starting to get in front of them, helping them, encouraging them along that path to become an active seeker, like he said. And what's interesting is as they're doing their research, as they're developing a persona of your company and where they want to go to work next, they're utilizing a lot of different sources. LinkedIn put out a study that said the average job seeker will use 16 to 17 different sources while looking for a job. So that could be your Facebook page, Googling you, looking at reviews, whether that's on a Google My Business or Glassdoor. And they're really, especially as the younger generations start to move into these roles, they're all about what are you doing in the community? They're all about what can I learn about this company before I become and commit to be a part of it. So this is integral to your future, really.
Just having a recruitment strategy that places job ads is the same thing as if Nike only put out shoes and sent out coupons and said, please buy now. There's a whole mystique around fashion brands put out about building up their brand. In a lot of ways, we're especially employers that are in tight labor markets, which is each and every one of us, we are now in a position to where we have to build up the brand, the personality of our business as a place to work, not just around the products we produce. Some of us don't produce products, we do services or we educate people. But in the end, we have to fill those positions and make those people feel like they're joining something that has meaning and has a reason to be there and has a personality. They need to be working for a brand. And that's what we're really going to talk about. Kale covered a lot about this today, that job seekers are really looking at a lot of different places for information about where to go to work, not just job boards. That may not even be the first place they go, but all of the time, companies can become influencers and influencing their communities, influencing their future workforce, and even influencing your current workforce. Remember, talking about retention by really establishing themselves with a message about what they stand for, what their mission's about, and why they are a great place to work. You have to be putting that message out there to your existing workforce as well as to your future workforce, to bring those people into a relationship with you and to bring those people into an interest relationship with you.
Art, one prime example of that, and since everyone here, I'm assuming, is from Alabama, you're all going to understand this one, is Chick-fil-A. How many times have you had a bad experience at Chick-fil-A? Their employees, they're courteous, the my pleasure, that always gets me, right? I don't think I've ever talked to a Chick-fil-A employee that didn't reply with my pleasure when I said thank you, and they make you want to come back. So that's what we're talking about, is developing the image of your company as something that can influence others and bring happiness.
Well, Children's is one of the companies that you've worked with for a very long time. You know, Children's of Alabama, in a lot of ways, has a monopoly when it comes to the service of healthcare for children. They are the expert, and they've certainly branded themselves that way. But on the workforce side, they work really hard to build a brand as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that as a sort of a case study?
Absolutely. So we've worked with Children's, like Bart mentioned, for years and years, since before I even came to Alabama Media Group. As time has progressed, what we've really uncovered with them is they don't pay as much as some of their competition. We know in medical field, the elephant in the room is UAB, especially in Birmingham, Alabama. They steal a lot of their competition's nurses. So it's not all about pay. It's not all about, off time. So what we did is we got with them, we went in and had a meeting with all of their recruiters and brought in some nurses and some nurse managers and said, what do you love about this place? What is it that really makes you want to work here? And what we found is the culture. Every day I get to play with children. I get to see smiles on kids and parents' faces because I know that I'm making a difference. So what we then did is built this out and said, well, that's your selling point. You've got to showcase the day-to-day life of a professional in your hospital, whether that be a nurse, a respiratory therapist. So what we've done is gone more to video advertising, testimonials, sharing information that current employees who are happy and that have worked there for years, why they're working there. And that has been fantastic for them. Their branding has just really evolved to where when you think Children's, you think, man, that just makes me want to smile.
And think of it this way too. That message is not something that they're taking ads out during the Super Bowl for. This is a message that they're using very targeted and very economical methods to reach just their target audience, nurses, internal and external, with that message, because they don't want every nurse that's out there to come work for them, because not every nurse will respond to this message. Some people have a different focus or a different calling. They want to reach the people that might come to work with them, that might be happily employed, but not know of the mission and the focus. And they want them to see themselves in the advertising. So they do articles, they do blog posts, they do social media advertising, they do video. And if you're sitting here thinking, I don't have enough money to hire a video production company or to do articles to, 5 million people, That's still okay. You can do with social media, with storytelling, with your iPhone. And we saw that latest iPhone commercial is shooting Hollywood movies on the iPhone I have in my pocket. You guys with can do your own version of these sort of testimonials and telling these stories in a real authentic way. It's not about having a Hollywood production as much as it is about telling a true, authentic story. Because applicants can smell marketing campaign when it's not real. But when it is something that's authentic, it's something that's real, it's something that somebody's talking about with a passion, that's something that'll attract the people that are like you and that are like your current workers and help you to get somebody who's not necessarily, maybe they're in a different place that they're not happy, to get them noticed by you before they ever hit a job board and get them from that passive status into that, I'm a little bit more towards active. Let me check this company out. If we zoom back out and we look at the entire path to hire, now we call this the path to hire, maybe that's sort of a marketing type term, but what we really tried to do was turn it on its head. Instead of saying, what's the path to hire from the company's perspective, we wanted to say, what's the path to hire today from the job seeker's perspective? So if we can put ourselves in the head of the job seeker, then what we can do is better speak to them regardless of whether they are actively searching for a job or not looking at all. And we really, when they're at that passive side, they're not looking. They're aware of what's going on in their community, but they're not saying, I'm out there looking for opportunities. We want to get them from that stage and build their curiosity on down the line to get them to explore the possibilities, then consider, what would a change look like? And what would this company look like if I went there? Then they want to get them ultimately to where they're reaching out to you for advice. That could be calling a recruiter, it could be filling out an application, finally applying for the job. And then even after they're hired, and I think this is one of the parts where we go back and we speak to retention, is our job's not done, right? Once we brought them in the job. I mean, if we're HR and we're the recruiting department, we may check that off as a conversion, I've met my goals. But from the company's standpoint, it's about turning them from, hey, welcome, let's make you a productive employer, to making you actually a brand evangelist to say, I just landed the best job ever. You guys need to come work here. You need to come work here too. I'm going to pause just for a minute. Do we have any questions or comments or anything that anyone would like to ask at this point? And Lisa, I'm going to ask you, how are we doing on time?
We are doing good.
Okay. You just let us know. I want to quickly go through some of these categories, these stages with Kale, and just try to give you a deeper idea of what this could look like. And I hope that what you're going to do when we go through this is to say, well, what could I do, or what do I have today at my disposal to try to start speaking to the more passive side of this job seeker approach. First, in stage one, when a job seeker is aware but not interested, they might be noticing ads as they search on LinkedIn, or they're out there just browsing their phones and doing their regular life. They might be reading news articles about your particular company because you're making news. They might be browsing social media. They could be impressed by a new post you had about what you're doing in a particular initiative, whether it's you built a house for Habitat for Humanity, or you have something that you're doing that's really unique around diversity. But they may even like a post about something that you guys are doing. But if you're not out there, they're not going to see you. This is why it's really important from the brand side to be out there regularly putting out content, whether it's just putting your name out there, putting an article out about something you're doing that's really interesting and unique, or just putting stuff out on a social media feed that's reaching your community. Very important. In stage 2, when they start to say, well, that's really interesting that company X is doing this thing, they will then get on your social media. They might dig in a little bit deeper. They might read some of the blog posts that you have on your site. If you guys don't have a blog site or a portion of your website dedicated to telling your own story, this is one of the easiest things that you could do. You don't necessarily need to be a writer. Of course, you need to have good grammar. You need to be able to spell check something and put it out there. But tell your story about why it matters, why what you do matters for your employees, as well as for your potential customers, as well as for your community. And having that out there is going to be something that at least someone who's considering an employment with you or considering getting in the job market will be able to learn more about you right away. And then anything that you have about work culture. Are you doing something really cool where you have flex hours? Are you working with moms to try to get them a better schedule where they can have, manage child care with the demands of work? Is there something that you're doing that's really unique? You should have that out there on your website. Be very transparent about that. Maybe that's the thing that gets somebody going, oh, I don't have that where I am. I'd love to go there. Even if the pay can't be equal, some of these types of things can really set you apart. What we've noticed too, and this is something that even if you can't afford to have a company manage this for you, it is really easy to do some paid social boosting. And all that means is if you put something on Facebook and you don't put any money behind it, sometimes not even the people who are following you are necessarily going to see it. So what you have to do is you have to, on LinkedIn and on Facebook, you have to put a little bit of money. And sometimes 50, 100, 150, 200 bucks can go a very long way, especially in a smaller area with a targeted campaign to getting that post in front of more eyeballs and getting them engaged with you and with your brand. The other thing that you can be doing as with this marketing, it doesn't just help with your potential employment base, it also helps you with potential customers. If sometimes people want to do business with you because of your strategy that you have retaining employees or reaching new employees. So sometimes your business development can be aided by the campaigns that you're running to recruit employees as well. This is a real key part, and Kel, you'll probably have a little bit more to say about this. Once you get them from, that's really interesting what this company is doing, to considering available opportunities, what you've done is you haven't just brought that person from not looking to looking at any job that's out there. Because you've gotten their attention, because what you're doing at your company is very unique, you've got them considering not just, hey, I'm in the job market now, I'm going to go to job boards. You have them considering your jobs. You have them looking at you. Part of this strategy and part of the thing that's been really helpful for us is what we call bringing a warm lead to a company. And Kel, you might express the difference and help explain the difference between when somebody's just raising their hand saying, "Oh, open opportunities," to raising their hand and saying, "I'm interested in your opportunities."
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the easiest way to look at this is we all know that there's people who go to job boards, let's say it be Indeed, our job board, ZipRecruiter, it go wherever they want it. And let's say I'm looking for a sales job. I'm going to go through and I'm going to click apply on as many as I can because I need a job and I need it now. If they look like they have the right pay and what I want to do, I'm applying. I don't really know much about your company, but I'm going to apply to it. The difference in that and what we're talking about is a warm lead. So we call it, is somebody who has looked at your company, who has been through these stages because you've made it available to them to see videos on you, to read information about what you're doing in your culture. That way, when they get to you and they apply directly to you, it's like, all right, I chose this place for lunch. It's not somewhere that I just ended up. I want a barbecue, so I'm going to Full Moon. I'm not just going to go out here and get something random that I want, right? It's somebody who has understood what they're doing, understood what they're getting into, and they are much more likely to become an employee, and not only an employee, but a quality employee because they know more about what they're getting themselves into, because you've been very upfront and revealing with your information.
Now, we've been working, Children's does this for one, they do testimonials. Several of the companies we work with in Huntsville have done this. But even if you don't, again, if you're not at that level, or if you are at that level and you do have that budget, you can shoot these with an iPhone. Sometimes if somebody sees somebody that looks like them, that sounds like them, and I don't mean literally looks like them, but somebody that they could see relate to, and that person's talking about how they started right out of college, or how they came from another company and they found their place here because of this, that, and the other, that can go a very long way to establishing trust and establishing credibility. Your employees, in many ways, are the image of your employee culture and your employee employment brand. Not your logo, not your product, but your employees themselves. And the more exposure that a qualified applicant can have to your employees, to see themselves in that personality that's speaking to them, before they even apply, they're going to feel an emotional connection to your company. They're going to feel an emotional connection to your employer workplace brand. And they're going to be more apt and more warm to whatever it is that you have to offer. And that can go a long way when they're looking at competing offers in a very tight job market to say, where do you want to go work? Or where do you want to continue with the hiring process? Or where do you, if you got two offers on the table, where do you want to make a decision for? The one that they feel the most comfortable with, the best relationship with, before they say yes, that's going to be where they're going to be more apt to say, send me, I'll go there. Yes. In the stage 4, and I think this is important, but this is not necessarily something that a lot of companies have. Many times when the job applicant is out there, it's either, do you want to apply? Or do you not want to apply? And the company has no opportunity for that job applicant to reach out and to get to know more about the company. Sometimes what you can do is you can have, instead of filling out, the 200-page long form application, you might just have an interest form on your website. Hey, I'd like to know more. So that you are making it really, really easy. You know how easy it is to buy on Amazon? I can have buy now. I don't even have to go through a checkout. Amazon did that so you'd buy now quicker and get to the conversion faster. Well, this is a way to have a buy now without having a commitment quite yet on a job applicant. Just have somebody raise their hand and say, hey, I'd like to know more, so that you can consider the candidate and the candidate can consider you, without either of you having to spend so much time and going even, it may not be a right fit and you can discover that really quickly. Or it may be the start of something great for both of you, to have a really easy way for candidates to raise their hand and say, I'm interested, tell me more. And you to have some personal dialogue with a recruiter or an HR person or something like that. A lot of our trucking companies are using this. A lot of other companies are starting to adapt this as a way to really just have that hand raiser identify themselves without having to take the step of saying, all right, let's all both commit to a very long process. I'm going to skip on to, okay, I'm in, applying for the position. I don't know how many of you have done this, but a lot of the companies that we've worked for, and even ourselves as Alabama Media Group, we call it dog fooding. Have you eaten your own dog food? Have any of you, as an outsider or an insider, say, okay, let me look at my own hiring process from the outside in? Do you make it hard for someone to apply? Do you ask for the same information to be hand input 5 different times? We got to look at our hiring process to try to understand, are we sometimes our own worst enemy at creating an applicant and receiving the information that we need? And once somebody applies, are we staying in touch with that employee? Maybe they weren't the right fit for the position, but in this hiring, in this climate of our labor market, you don't know what position is going to come open tomorrow. We may need to be in touch with those people. So do we have a newsletter we can keep them informed about our company business? Do we have something that we can keep up with them and maintain a relationship with them if they were a not right now fit, but a maybe later fit? These are all important things that we need to keep in mind. And then finally, they are hired. This is one of the most important things that we can do that might set us up for success in the future. If you found the ideal employee and you brought them on board, sometimes today, especially in the younger generations, the first thing those people are going to do is do the selfie out front. Do you guys set that up? Do you have a celebration of that person coming on board? If you do that and you tag these people on social media, you might have just bought yourself thousands of dollars of free advertising to that person's social base, family base, community base by celebrating that new person coming on board. In addition, you've made them feel really special, and you're turning that person into somebody that's going to become an evangelist for not just the stuff that you make or the stuff that you sell or the service you provide. They might become an evangelist for working for your company, which will aid you in just dividends of goodwill and possibly future applicants. Well, that's our presentation. That's what we had to share with you guys today. Let me stop and ask if you guys have any questions, any concerns, any comments that somebody else might benefit from.
And Bart and Kale, I had a question text to me. We talked about the 60-day average job posting number, 60, 61-ish. Do you think that the jobs actually get filled in that 60 days currently? Or do you think employers are just taking them down?
That's a great question. I'll take this one, Bart. So no, I would say the majority of jobs are not being filled in those 60 days. I think that the jobs are coming down. They're trying other things. They're replacing that position. There might be an internal promotion or a shift. It all is going to depend on the job and what that title is, what the description is. A lot of times what we see is if you have a position that's really important and you're having a hard time filling it, a lot of our clients will look internally to try to shift the focus off of that heavy need and say, well, I know I can fill this position over here a lot faster than I can what I'm really looking for. Let me look internally and see if somebody matches that criteria. I hope that answers your question.
I think so. Any other questions?
We don't have any other questions in the chat box.
So I did have another question. Do you all have any ideas why you think people are resistant to come back to the labor force?
I'm going to tell you something, Lisa, and I don't know if this is conjecture or there are a couple of different things. One is that we keep hearing over and over is that it's not about how hard it is to find quality childcare. Sometimes it's how hard it is to pay for quality childcare. And when somebody is hiring, when you're hiring for even a $20 an hour job and you're the sole breadwinner in a household, $40,000 a year isn't all that much when you're having to pay $12,000 a year for childcare, and the rents that are going up. And, you know, there's just not enough multifamily housing. Affordable housing is kind of an oxymoron in many communities in which we live, or maybe putting that word together with safe, affordable housing with good schools. You know, it just becomes harder and harder to put all these components together to get somebody who is in the workforce back into the workforce again. And there's just a lot of quality of life decisions that people are having to make right now, that it's not just as easy as saying, well, I'm just going to get back to work today. There's just so many other considerations. I think on the other hand, there's a lot of wage pressure as well. And, psychologically, when you're hearing that Amazon's paying a $3,000 bonus and $22 an hour, and you're considering going back for 10 or 12, and you think, even if you don't have an Amazon warehouse in your backyard, sometimes the psychological impediment could be, well, I'm going to hold out. There's got to be something better for me. I think there are a lot of factors like that. And honestly, there's a lot of folk, we used to have a labor supply that was more readily filling some of those lower wage positions. And some of that labor supply is simply not available today. Some of the immigrant labor supply, they're just not coming in the same numbers that we've had before. So I think all of these things kind of combined. This is not necessarily a scientific answer. This is just our sort of listening to the news, our experience with employers, and our sort of pulse on our local economy and talking to business leaders.
Fantastic, Bart. Any other questions? Well, I took pages of notes. I probably didn't get all the notes that I wanted to, but I believe you all said you would be willing to allow us to share this PowerPoint. Is that correct, Bart?
Please do. I sent you the PDF of this. We'd be happy for you to send that out. And then look, Cale and his team are always doing free consultations with businesses to just help them explore if they're interested in some sort of marketing strategy for talent, for recruitment. That they are always in that business of doing that type of work. So you can either reach out to the email address below, marketing@al.com. Also, you got Cale's email address there. I'm reachable through that marketing@al.com as well. We'd just love to talk to you. If you have a question, just want to send an email and ask a question, we're happy to answer that as well. Happy to help in any way we can. Alabama Media Group, we do al.com and the news and a lot of this other stuff. But if we're not supporting businesses and helping grow our economy, then we don't have a future here. And so your success is our success, and the economic future of this state and our region is near and dear to our hearts. And you're what make us go. And we're very proud of the work that you've been able to do throughout this pandemic, the challenges that you guys are solving from your varied industries. We are very appreciative of what you do. And we're happy to support you in this very small way by being here. And we hope that we can work with you guys in the future.
Well, Bart and Cale, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that. You said a key word there, free. We all like something free. So I'm sure you'll have some of our business and industry folks reaching out to you.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. It was a pleasure joining you guys today.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. However, I think we definitely have two that can follow that with no problem whatsoever. Next up, we're going to talk about the East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub, Dr. Suzanne Lacey and Margaret Morton. You are all probably aware of the needs of our citizens and how important it is, especially when it comes to training and reaching our rural Alabamians. Just a quick, if you are not familiar with SAFE, SAFE is a community-based organization. It is Sylacauga Alliance for Family Enhancement, whose purpose is to provide meaningful opportunities for families to contribute to the growth of our community and to promote community cohesion. SAFE has been in our area for a long time, probably nearly 20 years, if I'm correct, Margaret, and really committed to the mission and vision and the values to impact families, thus their name. Leading SAFE is Executive Director Margaret Morton. And then also joining Margaret to talk about the Earth Hub is Dr. Suzanne Lacey. Dr. Lacey holds a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education from Auburn, a Master's of Science in educational specialist degrees in elementary education and school administration from Montevallo, where my mother went to college, and a doctorate in educational leadership from Sanford. Under Dr. Lacey's leadership, Talladega County Schools have implemented a comprehensive plan to increase student engagement and to integrate technology to support learning. Recently, Dr. Lee Meadows, the executive director for the Alabama STEM Council, was looking for an example of excellence in STEM education in our K through 12s and picked a couple of Dr. Lacey's schools. And you would probably all not be surprised, but East Alabama Works is delighted to share that Dr. Lacey has been recognized as the State Superintendent of the Year. So a little round of applause for Dr. Lacey. We really appreciate both of you being here. I'm going to pull up that slide so that everybody can see what Earth is all about. Page through, oh, a little too fast. There we go. And so I'm going to, if you have any questions for Dr. Lacey and for Margaret Morton, feel free to put them in the chat box down there at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to ask for you all to go ahead and share with us a little bit about Earth.
Thank you, Lisa, and I'll kick this wonderful discussion off, and Margaret will hop in at any time. But thank you for your introduction. And in Talladega County Schools, we have had a really aggressive campaign during the last 14 years to really connect education with workforce development. Early on, when I became superintendent, we saw the need, because of our conversations with business and industry, as to how things should be happening in our classrooms that would better prepare our students for what you guys need in workforce development. So we definitely are trying to do our part in K through 12 education. And I know my colleague, Dr. Michelle Eller, is joining us this afternoon. And a lot of that is accomplished through career technical pathways, but also a lot is accomplished just in the regular K through 12 classroom. Lisa, you mentioned Dr. Lee Meadows from the Alabama STEM Council visiting just recently to look at what was happening in classrooms at in Lincoln at Drury Middle School and also Lincoln High School. We have an emphasis on connecting STEM standards with K-12 education, because we know that the work that is happening out in the real world requires those types of skills where students need to be able to collaborate. They need to be able to problem solve. They need to be able to communicate well and to research to find those real world solutions to the things that are making everything tick during the course of the day and for the companies. So we feel like we have very many examples throughout our district that would really illustrate that. 11 of our 17 schools are STEM certified, which takes the STEM standards and integrates those STEM standards throughout the curriculum in all subject areas. So that's something that we're very proud of. The East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub just made sense when Margaret Morton and I were having just an informal conversation one day. Our Board of Education owns 30 acres of property across from B.B. Comer High School in Sylacauga, better known as the old Avondale property. And that property has been sitting there for some time now. We purchased 30 acres in 2017. And for really the purposes of expanding our school facilities at Comer High and Comer Elementary, because currently we are just out of space on that campus. So the property is not very beautiful right now. If you've ever been by it, it's in desperate need of revitalization. And back in May, Governor Ivey awarded Talladega County Schools $1.75 million really to kick off this East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub, which is currently being used to assess the property and a little bit down the road, a few months, to clean up the property. So we are thrilled to be able to receive those funds from PSCA money from the governor. And we were the only K through 12 entity that was awarded that additional PSCA money. So that has been definitely an impetus to get on the fast track with the East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub, because we know in our region, we are desperate to be able to train workers to keep not only in our county and surrounding areas, but throughout the state of Alabama. So you see the different areas that the hub will be focusing on: alternative energy, for example, healthcare, early care and education, which is really big for our school districts, not only here in Talladega County, but throughout the state. A big booming industry, as you know, is hospitality and culinary arts, which I think was impacted pretty significantly as a result of the pandemic. You mentioned transportation, Lisa, and we know we're all waiting for something to come, either through our ordering through Amazon or something, because of transportation issues and supply chain management. We've had a real issue in our school district, as well as others across the state, with supply chain management and deliveries with food. So we've had some close calls with that. But the East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub is a vision between community partners in education, and how we can connect those two important pieces to train a workforce that will be robust and will meet the needs of workforce development. And we are hot off the press. Margaret will talk a lot about this in just submitting a grant to hopefully be funded and really take us to the next stages of this project, the Build Back Alabama grant. And we are having fingers crossed that this funding will soon be available, and that we can go to the next phase of this outstanding project that connects so many community partners, not only within our region here, but across our state, that have bought into this vision and supporting this vision, to know that it's definitely an answer to rural Alabama and solutions to meet the demands not only of education, but our workforce development. So we are excited. And Margaret, I know that you can share a little bit deeper about this work and all of the things that have happened just from that very informal conversation about how we could connect with our board and owning this property and fulfilling this vision that is so important to our local area and region, but our entire state. And we like to do things big in Talladega County. We want this work replicated, and we can see this too as a national model. So Margaret, I'll turn it over to you.
I thank you, Dr. Lacey, and it's absolutely an honor and a privilege to share this opportunity with Dr. Lacey and with the rest of you here, Lisa as well. I'm looking around the Zoom room, and I see some of our partners. Dr. Lacey specifically mentioned Dr. Eller, Sylacauga City Schools, and I see President Jeff Lynn and Michael Barnett, and clearly they are one of the key components to the vision. And I think of what was just presented just a little bit ago from Bart and Kale, and I just what they have described to you in terms of where we are in the labor market today is exactly the reason we know that the East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub is what we need in rural Alabama, because it clearly is a marriage between K-12 education, post-secondary, community college, universities, and the community and business and industry. And the reason I say that this is transformational is that this does not exist in our world now, but we are confident that moving forward it will, because it brings us all together to utilize the process that Dr. Lacey mentioned in terms of STEM. It's design thinking. It's coming up with your own solutions. It's coming together and brainstorming about what could be. And out of our work, EARTH, East Alabama Rural Innovation and Training Hub, has been created. And it's interesting because it started out as just really a center concept, where we would have incubation, we would have training and things of that nature. But it has evolved into a much larger opportunity where we are really integrating. We know that regardless of that in-demand job cluster, all these other clusters impact. So if you're going to be successful with manufacturing, creating jobs and hiring, all of these other factors, I heard early care and education, childcare mentioned, absolutely. So what we are doing is marrying up all those supply chain clusters together with major industry clusters. So we will have on site a childcare center where we will not only be providing childcare that's affordable and quality, but we will be training childcare workers. So as you look into this graphic that shows the synergy between all of these job clusters and the opportunities that will be available through Earth, you will see that this is across the lifespan. The definition of workforce development is building human capacity or human capital. And it starts before that child ever enters this world. And so our concept, being a transformational concept, is one that provides opportunities at the very early stages of life, all the way through the lifespan. So it's not just about K-12 education. It's about that adult that we've talked about today that has off-boarded, and they need to onboard. But before they can onboard, they've got to know what's available. I remember actually, Lisa, when we had the meeting in, I believe it was in Oxford, and Josh Laney came and spoke to the group. And, you know, I've been in this work a long time, but what he said that day was kind of like a thunderbolt, because he said, you know, I could drive out of this space and there could be a sign out there that says help wanted, brain surgeon, $15,000 an hour. I'm not going to slow down because I don't know anything about what a brain surgeon does. And I certainly don't believe that I have any chance of having the skills necessary to be a brain surgeon. And I think we have to look at those individuals, perhaps who haven't ever been in the workforce, who have never participated, to give them an opportunity again across the lifespan to explore and to know what's available. And Earth will be that place to go. Earth will be that place where they can explore, where they can learn, where they can train, and it'll all be at one location. And it will be a teaching model in and of itself for other rural communities to build their own hubs, to create their own solutions, and to put together their own strategies for workforce development, because we're unique. You know, one size does not fit all. And so what we have done in Talladega County and in East Alabama is come together again, Central Alabama Community College, Talladega County Schools as a leader, SAFE, we have Coosa Valley Medical Center, virtually the Chambers of Commerce. We have had tremendous support from Department of Commerce and AIDT and University of Alabama and Auburn University and others, business and industry. The list is about 50 membership of people coming together and entities coming together to solve these problems. One of the exciting outcomes from this initiative as we have moved forward is, first of all, we want to be totally transparent, and we want to make sure that we bring the best practice solutions, and we want to make sure that we measure what we hope to gain from this work. And so we were able to, through the support of Nancy Beggs, who was with the University of Alabama Economic Development, and Dr. Samuel Addy, I don't know if any of you know him, but he is a renowned economist. The University of Alabama supported his work in looking at a preliminary economic impact of once Earth is operating. And the results were phenomenal. For the investment on the front end of this project, once it is completed, in 1 year, there was a $68 million return on that investment. That is pretty impressive. And that is in jobs. That's for the state of Alabama, not specifically for the county. We do have those particular data points, but looking at what can be the impact if we as a community, we as a county, and we as a region come together and solve our own problems. It really is, you know, a top-down, bottom-up approach to economic development. And what we will be doing is we'll be linking related sectors, and you see those sectors on this graphic. And we will be providing knowledge-based skills, education, technology, growth, incubation, entrepreneurship, all connected to these industries, these in-demand industries, and what may be aspirational for the future. Because this is not just a solution for now. This is a solution for the future of whatever those jobs might be. And you're looking at IT, you're looking at agriculture, you're looking at alternative energy, early care and education, transportation, and Dr. Eller can speak to this. We know that the supply chain, as has been mentioned throughout these presentations, the supply chain issues are critical. And we have the leaders in those issues at the table with us to help resolve and help develop and plan. And that's true in the alternative energy arena. In agriculture, we're looking at having a research farm for regenerative agriculture. And we have already incubated a solution 2 years ago with Conic, who has developed a solution for soil implementation that mitigates some of the issues that we have at that site right now. So it's been very exciting. We've also had another initiative that looks at IT and technology navigation across the healthcare systems. And that particular project, Watershed Health with Dr. Chip Grant, is being utilized across the nation now in terms of healthcare solutions. And he piloted that project here with SAFE and Coosa Valley Medical Center in Talladega County. And Blue Cross Blue Shield hospitals that utilize Blue Cross Blue Shield are using that solution right now as we speak. So there's a lot of history, and I go back to Dr. Lacey and the Talladega County Schools and the wonderful, amazing, innovative work they have done over the course of time that has set us up to be in a position to do this. Jeff Lynn and Central Alabama Community College, and if you, we have used as sort of our playbook Governor Ivey's Success Plus plan. Well, we are so fortunate to have the chairman of that work a part of our team, and that's President Lynn from Central Alabama Community College, and the co-chair, Ed Castile, with AIDT. So we have a lot of the brain trust in this state sitting at the table with us from business and industry and education. And so it's been very exciting to see this evolve. We are moving forward. The leverage from the Alabama Public School and College Authority really set in motion the opportunity to begin to clean up the site at Avondale. And we know that that will be the gateway to revitalization of our entire region. So we're pretty excited about it. And I know I've got, as I said, we've got people on this presentation that are very much a part. And if you want to weigh in, that would be terrific.
So if you have a question for Dr. Lacey or Margaret Morton, you can take yourself off mute, or you can put it in the chat box, and Abby's monitoring that.
We do have a master plan that was developed early on, and it has been launched across much of our region and our state. But we know by the growth and development of this model that master plan probably is changing minute to minute. But it is a multipurpose facility campus where we will have a career tech center. There'll be an early learning center. There'll be a primary innovation incubator, research labs, flexible training spaces, also all of safe services there, a transportation hub, and we are looking at all sorts of opportunities there to be able to bring trainings and things of that nature to that area, as well as housing some of our existing transportation programs. SAFE operates the rural and senior transportation program and the TANF jobs program for the city of Sylacauga. So there are real opportunities to really showcase how, when you come together as a community and collaborate, you can find your own solutions and build for the future, because this is for the future.
So Margaret and Dr. Lacey, there's a question in the chat box. Will transportation have a logistics warehousing component?
That is very much, yes.
I was going to say, I can answer that. That's one of the components we're looking at. We just met with a group of business industry leaders to really see what they needed and what direction we need to go into in that realm. And so that was one of the areas that was mentioned, as well as forklift operator and possible diesel mechanics.
As well as looking at heavy equipment operator training. We have reached out. We have a variety of business and industry that are at the table with us, and they will articulate and develop what their needs are and how we can meet those needs. It's not just us sitting there saying, okay, well, they are very much a part of articulating their strategies and their needs and what they want this to look like. And that is what really makes it very unique. It is not just a technical center. It is a very comprehensive, integrated workforce development strategy approach that has a lot of opportunity for the present and addressing current economic development issues, but also preparing for our future.
Lisa, this is Kristen with the AOA. I just first want to say I love that you quoted Josh Laney. My boss will be super pleased, because he's that is always a thing that he actually just did a presentation to AGC yesterday, and he used that exact same quote. So you've got his presentation down. This is exciting. I'm just thrilled to hear about all the pieces, especially the childcare piece and things of that sort. And I'm sure, you guys already have this in the works, but thinking through the employer engagement, will there be a component of on-the-job learning or work-based learning, internships, job shadowing, that kind of stuff? I know obviously apprenticeships are kind of niche, but is that, in addition to having the industry help make the training happen, are they going to be hiring some of these folks as well?
Well, absolutely, and that's the whole premise, and that's the reason industry's at the table, because they will define what it is they need, and it may be, it may be the agriculture, forestry, and many alpha, and many of those are already at the table with us in terms of defining what it is they need. What kind of training? Is it training for farmers? Is it training in regenerative agriculture? What is it? And so they will define that, and over the course of the next several months, as we are moving forward, that will be very significantly articulated, working with what our resources already are, such as Central Alabama Community College, K-12 education, the universities. Virtually every stakeholder is actively engaged in this work. And I'd also like to mention Representative Ben Robbins, who has been instrumental in bringing together this strong coalition and team to address these issues. And so we really feel as though we have a very synergistic approach and a very novel approach to economic development. We're all, it's like dinner on the grounds. We all bring what we're good at and consume it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And
Thanks,
we're
Kristen.
using, again, I mentioned, Kristen, the work that President Lynn and Nick Moore and Ed Castile and many others across this state. We're utilizing their plan and putting that plan into place across the age span. And so that also makes it very unique, but also aligns with what the state has been recognized nationally as a leader in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
So Margaret and Dr. Lacey, I've got another quick question. So I know you guys have applied for the Build Back Better grant, and that's just recently been submitted. But you all are, and you recently got the $1.7578 million. But what is the total amount of funds that you're expected to need, the expected cost of the project? And how are those funds being raised, maybe outside of that Build Back Better grant?
Exactly. And I will say this, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I will say that we have committed, if we don't get the Build Back Better, we're still moving along. We have continued to, what we have just taken is an opportunity. And East Alabama Regional Planning and Development Commission has been a part of our planning and development. And we are in the process of a capital development campaign, and we are not relying on federal or just federal and state dollars. We already have interest in investments and commitments out of business and industry, and that's what will drive this. And so it will be a very comprehensive, integrated approach to making this happen. We don't know the exact price tag on this just yet, because we started out with just a center, and now we are a full campus, and but we do have a wish list. So we are thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 30+ million to fund the building of the facility. We have the opportunities for the trainings and things of that nature. We're just bringing it all underneath one roof and continuing to develop and expand in those strategies. But we've got some of the best and brightest at the table, and so we have no doubts that we will be able to generate whatever resources we need to make this happen. The reception of this vision and concept has been remarkable. Everywhere we have gone, everyone we've talked to has really expressed significant interest in investing in this, because they see the impact, and the impact for the future when you already have a preliminary economic impact study that shows that in dollars.
Margaret, thank you so much. Dr. Lacey, thank you very much. We really appreciate both of you all and your leadership in this Earth project. On behalf of our board of directors for East Alabama Works, we really want to thank all of our presenters, Bart Thaw and Kale Webb from Alabama Media Group, and Dr. Lacey and Margaret Morton with Talladega County Schools and SAFE respectively, for sharing about the East Alabama Rural Training Hub. We are very excited to share that our next quarterly meeting will be in person. Go ahead and please mark your calendars for Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, starting at 1 p.m. on the campus of Central Alabama Community College in Childersburg. We are pleased to have Jeff Lynn and Michael Barnett both joining us from that campus today. And we will be looking forward to having that in-person meeting. We appreciate the college for hosting us in January. We are very thankful for the time and energy that each of you put into workforce development in our East Alabama Works region. Together, we are going to build a stronger East Alabama. Thank you for coming, and we will see you in person in January. Have a great day.